but he's like, there are three things that keep the ocean from the side. And it's like, he only mentions one of the things. I'm like, what are the other two things? The Mollusk by Ween, released on June 24th, 1997 by those bastards at Elektra. We're going to talk about them. Got some bones to pick with Elektra. Produced by Andrew Weiss. This album wasn't particularly well received by critics. Wasn't selling like gangbusters either, as Elektra really failed to get behind the Mollusk in any meaningful way. It's now regarded as the band's masterpiece, particularly by Mickey and Aaron. And it's one of the greatest albums of the decade. I'm so excited to talk about this album. Welcome to Self-Titled. My name is Seth Sparks. I'm joined by Josh Best and Jordan Deweese. Guys, I'm excited to dive in, but before we do, Josh, what can people do here? They're watching. They want to support us a little bit. What are they going to do? They're going to like the video?
Hello, friends. Welcome to Self-Titled. Like and share this video. Please subscribe to the channel and follow us on podcast. Back to you, Seth.
Damn, that was nice. That was so smooth. Guys, when we do album discussions, we really immerse ourselves in the world of the artist. We listen to their music on repeat. We watch interviews, read them, watch live performances. And when we talked about White Pepper, I had the same feeling. I don't think there's any like world I enjoy as much as I do diving into the Ween world. It's so crazy. Josh, was it also kind of like last time, like when we did White Pepper? Like it just felt good to be back.
Oh, yes. Love the weirdness of Ween and being immersed in all things Ween and getting a little goofy and crazy. But yeah, I mean, but Ween writes really good music too. You know, it's not just bizarro world and quirky and the brown. Ween writes great music, so I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to the Mollusk the last few weeks, getting ready for tonight. Jordan, how have you enjoyed the Mollusk?
Oh, I've had a blast with it. I have to say it's been a while since I've listened to the record in full, and then I've spoken to Seth about this. I've had a damn good time with it. The first song just kicks off the whole vibe of the album, and then it just goes nuts. I feel like my fiance is probably questioning my mental health at this point.
Yeah.
There's, saying I'm going to go brown out whenever listening to Ween. But no, I've had a great time. Even so, listening to the Mollusk, I've even gone deeper into their other records that I really didn't, listen to all that much, like Pure Guava, The Pod, and then they had this song called Gabrielle on the album Shakola Volume 1, which is, I've been pumping that in my car like crazy. But no, I've had a blast with this album and with Ween in general.
Awesome.
You do realize, if you're like me, you've listened to Ween a very long time and you get used to it. You know, like, oh, this is deep down that like, yeah, okay, this is probably a little off the wall, but you don't really realize it until you're listening to someone who does not listen to Ween as much as you do. You're talking about your fiance, and I mean, you do, like you're going through this album and you're cranking it and you're just like, oh yeah, this is normal. And you hear Mutilated Lips and you're like, yeah, it's just a totally normal song. And then you listen to it around other people and you're like, this is crazy. Immediately. What is it? Are you okay? I totally get that. There's so much depth to Ween. Josh, you were saying this, like it's fun, it's silly, but it can quickly get very serious and heartfelt. Like they're incredible writers. Their live shows I would put up against anybody. They can bring everything that you want out of a great rock band, but it's never dull. And it always has this X factor, this weirdness, the brown, the Ween factor that only Gene and Dean can offer. And I think like the Mollusk, the reason I'm excited to talk about this one, to think that this album embodies all of that. It embodies all the best parts of Ween, all their best attributes. That's why I have been so pumped about this. Josh, what about you? Have you played this one around the family? Like, are you selective and you're like, Ocean Man's safe?
Gosh. So one of my routines is listening to music while I cook dinner. I'm usually the cook in the house, and I've got my speaker in there listening to music, and I'm preparing for tonight. I'm listening to the Mollusk, and then it's going to be all right. I'm like, "Hun, listen to this one." I'm like, oh, this is Ween. This is the Ween that you can pull out for the family, and it's like, oh, who are these nice sweet guys? And then as soon as the Blarney Stone starts, you have no time to just like kill the power, jerk the cord out of the wall, because once that starts, it's like, okay, we've got to change subjects here. But I wanted to ask you a question, Seth. um we talked about white pepper. We did an episode on white pepper, and but for folks who haven't listened to that episode, let's talk about your first memories of Ween. I can remember seeing Ween in the record stores, but I did have no concept of Ween or what was in the record. And I'm just like, these guys, they've got something going on, but I can't buy this. I'm not going to be able to buy this album and go home with it. I'll get in trouble. So I think my first memory of Ween is right around the first Bonnaroo, when you start working at Shamrocks with
Right.
Steve Reed,
Yeah.
and they're playing Ween in the kitchen for you. So was that your first? And so picked up white pepper and brought it to my house. Like, dude, you have to listen to this. So I think my first really, maybe I heard Push the Little Daisies on MTV or something, but
Right.
didn't really pay much attention to it. And so really I missed out on Ween, through the 90s. Just wasn't exposed to, or didn't catch attention to it until white pepper. What was your first experiences with Ween?
I'm like you in the fact that I'm sure that there was some random touch points early on. Like there's a famous Beavis and Butthead with Push the Little Daisies. Like I probably saw that and didn't think, and just kind of knew like, oh, these guys are crazy. And I don't think I really had a good grasp on what they were about or anything until I started working at Shamrocks. This is up in Lexington, Kentucky. Shout out to Steve Reed, because he's the one that got me into Ween. I think that we just talked about music a lot. He was like, with all the stuff you like, the Beatles and all that, like you have to check out Ween. And this was around the time where Fish had covered Roses Are Free. And so Ween is also starting to get this whole other like jam band fan base too. But Steve was really into bootlegs and live shows. And so it's like I got White Pepper. Like I found that one immediately, and how it's such an easy album to connect to. Like you can connect to White Pepper like that. And it was a great introduction for me. And then I think I was like hearing a lot of live stuff of Ween. So many of the songs before I came to the Mollusk, it was like I'd heard Buckingham Green just in isolation. I'd heard the Mollusk, and they were so good live at that point. That it was like sometimes the presentation of those songs, if I go back to Jordan, you were talking about like Pure Guava and stuff, like if I go back to some of those and I hear like how they originally recorded it, it's almost off-putting because I'm used to the live versions where they've kind of polished off some of the rough edges. So yeah, all of this was, around the early 2000s. And again, you and I saw them the first time. I always get this a little mixed up. I think I saw them first at Bonnaroo, and then I saw them in Knoxville, Tennessee live. That was on the same tour that they did the live in Chicago. And those two shows were pretty close in proximity. I get a little confused about which one came first. But dude, it's just like, it's a force to be reckoned with. And it also makes it make sense of like the weirdness a little bit more. It kind of eases you into it, the live performances, and that's true of a lot of the songs on the Mollusk. Even a song like Mutilated Lips, like played live, like feels like, that's not that crazy, and then but so I think Mollusk was probably really the second album that I really got into from Ween. I kind of went backwards. and I'm sure 12 Golden Country Greats is in there. But that's where that for me, I think that's kind of my origin and the path to where I just and it didn't take long for me to be like, I need more of this. I need more of this. It was just unlike anything I'd ever heard.
We recently talked about Led Zeppelin, and we talked about how they were able to separate their album and their live shows and not go into a tour thinking we have to create the album exactly, or not be in the studio and think, oh, let's maybe not go here because how will we do that on stage? So I I appreciate bands that do that. That look at those two different things. Look at the album, recording the album and performing on stage is two different things, and each deserve full attention and doing things well, whatever that takes. So, Jordan, I want to hear your first. How did you first come across Ween? When was it? Give us all the details.
So the first time I ever encountered Ween may have been the SpongeBob movie with Ocean Man during the end credits when I was a kid. But to really knock it off and to like get into my head of who this band was is that it says a house down in the basement. We had a Christmas party and we went to that little library room in the back corner. Instruments were grabbed and everything. And then all of a sudden, we started singing a song called Piss Up a Rope off 12 Country Greats.
Dude.
Anyone should totally go and hear that song. But before you do, know that 12 Country Greats is kind of a parody of country music in and of itself, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong. So when you go in listening to Piss Up a Rope, don't think that we have that kind of mentality. But no, I fell in love with that song and immediately got home and started, listening to just that record. And then, of course, diving into more once the years came by.
Yeah. It is Piss Up a Rope is one of those songs where it's like it's all fun and games, but you do when you start playing it, you look around and you're like, okay, these are just like some friends of mine that I know, right? Like they're gonna judge me.
I got into White Pepper, like you said, Seth. It's easy to listen
Yeah.
to, and I just fell in love with that album and wore it out. But I had a hard time, I would pick and choose what I like from Ween and be like, "Oh, okay, I like this one, but I don't know that I want to spend a lot of time with that album or this album." So, still to this day, I mean, it took me a while to come around on the Mollusk, and today I love it and it's easy to listen to. But
Yeah.
Ween was challenging for me for a while, and there are still some early Ween albums that I could be like, I could name you a handful of songs, and I don't know that I've really spent much time listening to the album all the way through.
It's fair. I mean, the first like the Brown trilogy, the first three albums are they can be tough hangs. They can be. I mean, if you're really acclimated to it and you're used to it, then and you're gonna get your Ween fans who are like, that's the real Ween, and it's like, and maybe that's the case, but you get into this stretch where it's like Chocolate and Cheese, The Mollusk, and if you want to count 12 Golden Country Greats, or if you just want to skip to White Pepper, I mean that stretch of albums is a really healthy mix of like, hey, this could appeal to anybody. This is just a great, well written song, and a little bit of like a little bit of the Brown, a little bit of the weird Ween, and the Mollusk is a pretty good hybrid, but it's still fairly strange. Like this album is just, I mean, you throw it on and I mean, you get to you get a little bit deep into it, and before you're at a point where you're like, okay, this is a song I could play around like just any random person, my parents or whatever, and nobody's going to be like, what are we listening to here? Like you're pretty deep into the album before you get to one of those songs. Probably like it's going to be all right. Like it's probably like the first one that you get to where you're just like, I mean, the Mollusk I think is great, and we're going to get into these track by track, but it still retains a little bit of that. Just like chocolate and cheese retains a little bit of that. Chocolate and cheese is weird and has some crazy stuff, but it also has some just straight up. This could be on like top 40 radio. If top 40 knew what was good for itself, this would be, Freedom of 76 is like a great chocolate and cheese track that could just totally fit anywhere. And then you're going to also have like, I can't put my finger on it or something like that. That's going to be crazy. So today, Josh, when you're listening, where does this rank? If you're ranking Ween albums, I think that we'd established that probably White Pepper is number one for you. Is the Mollusk like number two?
Yes, the Mollusk is number two, and I think if to somebody who isn't very familiar with Ween, I think it would be easy and fair to say that Ween took you can tell Ween before McClellan, Drewitz, and Coleman,
Yeah.
adding those as permanent band members. I think my favorite Ween is when they came on board, just because it's like, okay, like we're under control, and we can see some kind of organization and some polished thing. I just my opinion, and maybe it's been printed or quoted, but I think they were getting towards the end of that Elektra album deal, and they were like, oh, let's try to, maybe before this contract's over, maybe we try to make some money and put out an album that not just this small handful of awesome fans that we have or thinks cool. Maybe we could spread our demographics here and appeal to a bit of a wider audience. But we've talked about it over and over again. If I spend time with those earlier albums, I'm sure I'll fall in love with those too. It's just
Yeah.
about giving them the time. But yeah, the Mollusk definitely number two. But I remember in the early 2000s when I'm first getting into Ween, putting on the Mollusk album, sitting down start to finish and being like, what in the world? Because I'd already listened to White Pepper and loved it. And then, you get a song like, I don't know, just the first track,
Yeah.
or even something like Johnny on the Spot, and you're like, what are we doing here? And so, but now I love every track.
Right. Jordan, is it was the weirdness for you part of the appeal for Ween, or is it something that you had to learn to sort of get past in order to appreciate it?
I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the simpler songs I stuck onto, but the older I got and the more I listened to,
Yeah.
like with Me and You, Viagra Boys,
Right.
getting into
Yes.
that kind of music and everything, and then going back to these just out of left field songs
Yeah.
in a good way. The weirdness kind of clicked with me a little bit. Like when we start talking about the tracks, that first song is an odd song, but I felt it just set off the whole album and you knew what you were going to get from then on out. It also comes, you listen to an album and at first you're like, I'll come back to it. And then say you're at work walking around and you just start singing it. It's in your head.
Yeah.
And then eventually you go and listen to it again. And it's like a repetitive, thing that you're doing.
The thing that I think is great about this album is it's a lot of things. This album's a lot of things. It's a progressive rock record. It's full of like sea shanties kind of type thing, nautical music, I guess. It's probably fair to say. I think there's a lot of references to fish, but I think it's really borrowing more from Irish and English ballads and things like that. It's also kind of a children's record, and in some ways, and then like a really fucked up children's record, and it's also a breakup album. Like it's Jane's going through a breakup, and so there's some really heart-wrenching stuff on this album, and it's like, but that's a lot to dive your head around. And if you don't know that band that much, or you just throw it on, but you have to spend time with it to get all of that. On the first listen or two, you're just like, okay, the polka dot tail. Okay, I don't know what we're doing here. But after a while, it starts to become a little endearing, and it grows on you. To talk about how this album came together, at this point, Ween had settled into being a four piece, which was true when they made Chocolate and Cheese. In addition to Gene and Dean, you had Claude Coleman on drums and Andrew Weiss on bass. And Weiss also served as the band's producer and mentor and big brother, as Dean put it. So with that heavy involvement, Gene and Dean had this feeling like they were losing control a little bit. And when they did break ties with Weiss to make the Mollusk, it sounds like it was, a difficult thing for them to do, but he did end up coming back to mix the album, and he's credited as the producer. And Mickey does say that he played a big role in the final product. But to get back to those basics, to regain that control, Gene and Dean found a rental home, a beach house in an isolated spot in Jersey Shore. They brought all their equipment there and would record for half the week and go home for the rest of the week. The first few sessions were very productive. Gene brought this book of 17th century folk songs, which seems like a really important part of and influence on this album. The first night in the house, they used that book. They basically found this song called Cold Blows the Wind, which is a traditional song. Neither one of them heard it, but it has the chords and it has the lyrics, and they just kind of wrote the song based on that, and it set the tone for this whole album. The first 2 weeks, they get The Mollusk, Mutilated Lips, Ocean Man, The Golden Eel, and She Wanted to Leave. And then in the middle of these sessions, Gene and Dean go to Nashville and to Mount Juliet, more specifically, where they record 12 Golden Country Greats. And when they come back, they find that their rental home is completely covered in ice. The pipes had frozen, they burst. The place was flooded. All their equipment and on the floor was destroyed. But fortunately, their tapes were on a table and they didn't get soaked. So they were able to sort of salvage a lot of the work that they'd done. But they had a falling out with the guy who owned the house, and not surprisingly, and they finished the rest of the album in a few different locations. But I love that story because I think it shows you where Gene and Dean were at. They wanted to kind of reconnect with being just a duo. The setting, there where they go to on the coast, Jersey Shore, they're kind of isolated. They have this 17th century folk songbook. It all leads to this very singular work with old world kind of nautical influences. We say this a lot on the show. I don't think it's ever been truer than it is for this album. Like, this could only have come from these two guys.
The book that they had or found was called Bonnie Bunch of Roses. I think Gene is the one that brought it. It just kind of shaped the whole album after that. And then also having it at Jersey Shore, it was during the off season, so there was rarely anyone around. I also think while also doing 12 Country Greats, you kind of see there's a few songs where that kind of blends into the Mollusk as well, that texture of, 12 Country Greats. It also just shows the relationship and then, just the musicianship between the two of wanting to go back to a duo. I think whenever they started recording the album, they really didn't know how to use the equipment at first.
Right.
Yeah, they had no clue.
They're like, set it up for us. And then they're like, now we don't know. What do we do?
Whenever they were recording in the house, the equipment was so warm, they didn't know that it was freezing. So whenever they left to go to Nashville to record 12 Country Greats, they come back, the entire place is just caked in ice. And luckily, everything was on the table. All the equipment is gone. But I think what you went by, like the albums and everything and listening to them, I think great albums also, with Yankee Hotel, Foxtrot, and a few others, kind of come out of chaos, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I really enjoyed that part of the story of recording, and I've really enjoyed going deeper into how things are being made.
Yeah, sometimes it comes out of chaos, and sometimes it comes out of just extreme fortunate situations of things all coming together at the right time. So I've always been intrigued by Ween, how Freeman and Melchiondo have this just great partnership and friendship. We all had that best buddy when we were like 12 or 13, where you like sit in each other's bedroom and come up with these grand ideas, and we're going to do this. And it's like, that's what they did. And they just stuck to it and never parted from this vision. And so, what happens when you work with somebody and you feel like your vision is being replaced by somebody else's vision, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? We got to get back to uh, our roots and what we're comfortable with. So yeah, that is an interesting story. Backdrop to the recording of the Mollusk.
And this will probably get us into the track list. We can start jumping into that with Dancing in the Show tonight. But okay, just thinking about this song as an example. You're talking about getting back and being a duo and finding each other at a young age and kind of like finding your person, and you guys are going you against the world. And there's so much of the Ween's music that you listen to and you're like, this just takes balls. It takes balls to be on a major label, to be with Elektra, and to be like, okay, all right, what are we going to open? What's our opening gambit? And it's I'm Dancing in the Show tonight. Dean actually started recording the recording for this right after he met Glenn McClellan, and that's actually Glenn's 2-year-old son singing on the song, along with a ton of other voices too. But Dean also said that this was a ballet practice record of his sister's. I mean, you know, you're going out there, you're a rock band, and you're like, you know, you think about everything else that is going on around this time in 90s music, especially the alternative world, bands that you're sharing a bill with, and they're coming out and they're like, all right, we're going to shove it down your throat. And then you start off with I'm Dancing in the Show tonight. Like, this is wild immediately and just endearing as hell, right?
It's like when you and your buddy come up with a practical joke or a prank, and you're like, dude, this is going to be so funny. And then you like just spend so much time in doing all the stuff for the prank. And they're like, you're really getting into this. You're really getting into this prank, aren't you? And, but yeah, gosh, and this partnership just cracks me up because Mickey to me just comes off as like, you know, a grizzled old, you know, constantly has a cigarette burning, just ripping, just shredding guitars, you know, just hard as coffin nails. And then here's Gene, like, you know, looks, you know, just seems like he, I don't know, got off of a set with Richard Simmons or something and like doing aerobics or something. Like, and he comes up and he's like pitching a song to Mikey and or Mickey, and you think Mickey's gonna be like, bro, we are not doing this. But Mickey's like, yeah, man, I think we're on to something. And he's like, yeah, I see your vision, and he supports Gene's crazy. So their partnership just cracks me up. But it's perfect because it's like, you know, in any great partnership, one person's weaknesses is the other person's strengths, and they, you know, they have these different backgrounds that when meshed together brings something awesome.
The first time, I mean, I probably listened to this album for the first time 5 to 7 years ago. And, you know, whenever I first started up, I was expecting something totally different, not something that I think I read somewhere that this shared a side of, like this album also had I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas on it or something. Like I saw that somewhere whenever I was researching this. And, it's a very off the wall start to an album, but it, like I said, like twice before, it sets the tone perfectly. Josh was saying something about a prank. Can you, you know, being heavy rockers and everything like this, can you see the Brandsteaders just like hyping up their first rock album and then putting it in, and it starts off with like I'm Dancing in the Show tonight.
Exactly. It's exactly so. Mickey and Aaron are the Brandsteaders just from Philadelphia, or yeah, like big city New England suburbs, you know, not Edmonton.
Get into the Mollusk second song here on the album. This is Mickey's favorite song that he and Aaron wrote together. He recorded the chords, used a module to add in swirling sounds. He went surf casting, and Mickey's a big fishing guy. Went surf casting, which is just when you stand on the shore and you fish from the shore. I had to look that up. I didn't know that. And when he came back, Gene played him the vocals that he wrote, and they both just loved it and played it over and over. Dean said it was the big missing puzzle piece that was going to pull the whole album together. And this song, I mean, dude, where the hell does this come from? It's really, I mean, it is extraordinary, dude. The lyrics are from another planet, but the keyboards and the synthesizers, I mean, it just, when everything kicks up, it's like, when you're listening around other people, you're like, oh, some people might find this silly. But dude, when everything kicks up in that final stretch where the synth really goes crazy, and the chords are just doing this like G to C basic thing, it's glorious, man. This is amazing. And I get like chills when I listen to the Mollusk now.
That's that's what's so fun about Ween in this album. Well, Ween as a band is, let's do something bizarre, but then once we get into it, like, we're all gonna take our turn at doing something awesome. Like, hey, do you want to do a solo here? I mean, usually I feel like they set it up for Mickey to break something off, but it's like, okay, well, now we've got some more guys on hand. Let's let some other people do something awesome. But yeah, this is, I mean, Jordan said it already, that this sets the tone for the Mollusk. It's like, okay, we're going to dive into the weirdness. Buckle up.
I love the Mollusk. I like how it's a conversation between, two people, of course, a question and then a reply. I love the acoustic guitar in it. That monologue at the end really fit as well. I really enjoyed that. This is one of the songs when I started to listen, Sarah's like, because she wasn't there for I'm Dancing in the Show Tonight, but she was there for the Mollusk. She's like, what is this? I'm like, it's weed. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the Mollusk. I'm kind of fighting the urge not to sing it at the moment. So
I know it's so funny, and it's funny too because it's like, and you probably had to be like, look, this is one of the more normal songs on the album. Like this is actually like one of the crowd pleasers.
Here's Mutilated.
You're right.
Lips.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know. The thing that I have so much fun listening to this, I'm like you too. You hear it, you just hear those chords, and you just want to go, "Hey, little boy, what you got there?" Like you just with the Gene Ween, inflection and everything. And then the other thing that gets me too, the spoken word monologue. He's like, there are three things that keep the I can't even remember the exact phrasing of it, but he's like, there are three things that keep the ocean from the sand. And it's like he only mentions one of the things. He's like, I'm like, what are the other two things?
but yeah, he takes on like a character. It's like when you're just sitting there listening to the album, you can hear Gene's facial expressions and his movements. It's like you can see him singing
the wide eyes and
because he's so expressive in his voice.
I do want to go back because now I pulled up the lyrics, and I do want to say I do want to get this right. You see, there are three things that spur the mollusk from the sand: the waking of all creatures that live on the land. And that's it. That's the first thing. But I need to know the next two things.
Keep you kids guessing.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's maddening. Come on, Gene.
I love the vocals on, every Ween song, but, especially on this album. How they use the vocal effects, and just throwing on those vocals effects takes it to this weird, psychedelic haunting weird place. So it's interesting that on this song, even though the lyrics are so weird and fantasy, fantasy like, that they didn't use effects on this song. But yeah, I remember the first time I heard the Mollusk. I'm new into Ween. I've listened to White Pepper all the way through several times and love it. And then I would probably be like, "Hey, let's listen to White Pepper," and you're probably like, "Hey, man, they've got other stuff. Let's listen to this song, The Mollusk." And you play it, and as soon as those like synthesizers come in, I'm like, what is this? Like, did we just digress to like the 80s, or like what are we doing? Like everything sounded so corny. I'm like no, I want the refined White Pepper sound. So it took me a little while to get into the Mollusk, but I mean now it's like it's almost like 1B favorite to White Pepper.
Mm. And then we get into Polka Dot Tail. This is like a drugged up children's song. I don't know how else to say it. They recorded this at Claude Coleman's house. I love the solo and the lyric. Have you ever tried to sink like an ice cube in
Ice
the
Cube in the
sink?
sink.
What a great line that is. I think this is a fun song, and it still feels like we're just kind of like warming up to where we're going to get to with the rest of the album. But Jordan, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorites on the album. I love the acoustic guitar and just the instrumentation, and then the lyrics just they crack me up. Like, did you ever see a whale with a polka dot tail? Did you ever see a man with 8 fingers on his hand? And then it gets to, did you have to dry your eyes when you saw that puppy fly? Which is which is a very depressing lyric, but I read somewhere, and it mainly dealt like, of course, the creator of SpongeBob got a lot of inspiration from this album. I think Ween even does the Loop De Loop song in the SpongeBob TV series. But no, we were talking about how this is kind of a demented children's song, and just kind of just LSD fueled, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Someone made the joke like LSD and children's TV kind of go hand in hand, and I just cracked up at that. But no, I love Polka Dot Tail.
It goes hand in hand because artists have no limitations, you know, and they think, hey, there's no adults that are going to be watching this to tell us that this is crazy and I'm not allowed to do this. So, yeah,
We're going to do
I
whatever the
feel,
hell we want.
I feel like you're right. I feel like psychedelia and children's stuff have always gone hand in hand. Yeah, this song here's one of those songs that Ween loves to put in albums where you're like, you know, if you hadn't heard the album in a while, you may have forgotten about. I mean, I totally forgot about this song. It's not one of those songs where I'm like, I'm putting Polka Dot Tail in my playlist. You know, but but it's fun and it fits and it adds to the journey. It tells you where we're going to, the weird oceanic mushroom voyage, and the effects on the vocals just, you know, put it in that space.
absolutely. And you get a guest guitarist on this one too, with Bill Fowler, which is something you don't see a ton with Ween albums. I'll be your Johnny on the spot. Jordan, you mentioned this week as like one that was particularly in your ear on this listen of the Mollusk.
Like I said, it's been a little bit, and so I listened to it fully a few times this week, and I love Johnny on the Spot. That just chaotic guitar and everything, and just distortion. Whenever the vocals come in, I don't really know how to explain this, but you know, the song itself, the melody and everything is just really fast and nuts. But whenever he comes in to sing, it's kind of spoken word a little bit, in my
Mm,
opinion, and I think it
yeah,
fits perfectly with the song.
this went on your list of one of your go tos on the album, Josh. Or where does Johnny on the Spot fall for you?
It was one of those I forgot about, but now I love it. You know, and I feel like this is a really good snapshot of Ween as a band and their catalog. This sounds
Yeah.
like something Ween would have done, you know, in the early 90s on their 4-track recorder. Maybe that's how they recorded it. I don't know. I think it's so funny, Ween's history of recording, how they just never put a lot of stock into it. You know, I mean, not like they don't care, but I mean, they're using like 4-track recorders. They're using like very basic equipment, And I think Jordan, you said earlier when they were, or maybe it was Seth, when they were recording the Mollusk, they didn't even know how to set up the equipment or use the equipment. So I just find that super interesting that they've never relied on out, studio tricks or anything like that. So, you know, the, as soon as I heard this, I was like, this is like classic Ween, uh, and sounds like a drum machine, and the percussion on this song gives this song a cool edge and a upbeat rhythm that keeps the song going. I think this song's cool. I love the lyrics. It's a fun song, and it's, what's good about a lot of these songs, they're uh a lot of 2 and 3 minute songs. So it's like, okay, well, if it's not if it's not your cup of tea, it's going to be over before too long.
Yeah.
It's one of the few supercharged punky songs on the album, but this is like something like you can kind of expect one of these on most Ween albums. Great guitar sound that Dean got from this Ring modular kit that his friend built for him, and then it broke afterwards. So like this is the only time that you're ever going to hear that particular Ween sound, that this particular Dean Ween guitar sound. Love it. And then it takes us into Mutilated Lips. Again, this is wild shit. Uh, I've heard this song so many times over the years that I hear a song I love, and when you listen to it around other people who don't know it, it snaps you out of your comfort zone, and you realize how crazy this sounds. But it's amazing. Aaron wrote this. Mickey said the chords are what make this song stand out for him, along with this Moog synthesizer that they use. And there's a video where Dean breaks down how to play the chords to the song and what the tuning is, because it's a weird tuning, but he really just takes his A string, drops it down to a G. This song has one of my favorite lyrics of all time. Laughing lady, living lover, oh, you sassy, frassy lassie, will find me skull of House Selassie, I, and give me shoes so I can tapsy. Dude, what are we talking about? That's amazing. That's amazing. Elektra wanted to release this one as a single, to which Mickey replied, "What? Are you out of your?" What did he say? Mickey's exact words were, "What? Are you fucking nuts?"
Yeah.
I mean, and it's true. It's like the assumption being like you haven't actually listened to any of these, but they did release it as a single. Even though it is one of their best songs, it is very weird and not single-esque at all. But that all that being said, I mean, this is like one of the staple Ween songs that I think like your hardcore Ween fans, Mutilated Lips is going to be up there for a lot of people, but it's also going to weed out people who it's like, if you're not into the weirdness of Ween, this one's going to be trouble for you, I think.
This song is everything for me. This is the one I'm looking forward to when I put on the Mollusk. This is maybe my favorite Ween song. Yeah, that's a good point. Play this for somebody, and if they're freaked out of this, like, just maybe Ween's not for you. Because if you can't get down with this, then Ween's not for you. I love that Moog, when it comes in the start of that second verse. It almost like gives this song like a R&B or hip hop feel for me. Like, you've already got this cool groove, and then the chorus is practically a rap, and the lyrics are so cool. And I mean, they're weird, certainly. The reason I think they're cool is because it's almost like lyrics Beck would write, where the words just sound good together,
Yeah.
And whether we're saying anything or being weird or whatever is a mute point. But it just so happens the lyrics are creepy and oceanic and awesome, so that's it's perfect. I mean, this is just, I think this song, and really the Mollusk as a whole, stands the test of time because it's so, I don't know, concept, that where they achieved a concept and used these synthesizers and certain things to give it a real feel and a vibe that I feel like, I mean, Mutilated Lips can go on any sound playlist I've got. It's this song grooves, and I think it sounds like some. I think if they re-released it today, it would be successful.
I love this song. Like I said earlier with the mollusk, I want to get like a can of helium and then just sing the sing the chorus in Freeman's voice, but my voice is too deep to do that. Uh, I lick my brain in silence. I'd rather squeeze my head instead. I'm pretty sure this whole song is about a dude on a ship lost at sea, just high on acid, because it then goes to, I said, please calm it down. Everything is turning brown, which is another, you know, kind of Ween reference. But no, I, I absolutely love this song. And this is another one I played in front of Sarah. And yeah, she wanted no part of this at all.
Yeah, as soon as that vocal effect goes in there, where said like this,
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute. I didn't like the lyrics at first, but now that he's talking like that, I'm all the way out. Just turn this
Yeah.
off before I get demon possessed or something.
And then we get into what I think is one of the greatest party songs. It just needs to be more, at more parties, but it's the Blarney Stone. They recorded the Blarney Stone on a 4-track in Aaron's apartment, brought it to a studio in New Hope. The band had this party. They did the backing vocals on it. Dean said they had a couple empty trash cans. They were smashing bottles into it. Did 10 tracks of everyone singing along. Dude, how can you not love this? This makes me want to go to a party, preferably one where everyone knows this song, and just have a sing along. The lyrics are hilarious. We've been speaking in this song. Like this has been the main form of communication that we've had with each other this week, are just like sending each other lines from Blarney Stone, because it's so funny. I don't, from the jump, it's hilarious, and it doesn't stop until the end.
If the women and kids are still awake, they need to be in bed at this point, because now now the rum is out and the sea shanties have begun and the full out shenanigans. And yeah, this song is hilarious. It's mind blowing that Ween played this at every show, and even like in shows with it, that this is like such a fan favorite. It'd be like, this is what we want to leave you with, the Blarney Stone. But it also, it totally makes sense for Ween.
Listening to it, I want to stand on a table or have an iron mug of, of a drink and just kind of slam it down in some weird, Viking hall.
It's so true. I know exactly what you mean.
It's amazing. Makes you want to fight somebody too. Of course, I would never do that, but
it just evokes some wild animal in you. Yeah, it does. It's so depraved, and even the character in the song singing it is just so insane. Like, he's got mold in his ears, and he just, like, if he doesn't get fresh bread, he's gonna punch someone in the face and howl at the moon. What's everyone's favorite line from the Blarney Stone?
I love the down to the pub for a 2-shilling ale. The bread on the counter is going stale. If I don't get some fresh bread soon, gonna punch in your face and bark at the moon.
You just gotta, like, dude, the whole first fucking verse is just like,
it's the first two lines for me. Let's face it.
yeah,
Come on.
let's face it. Let's be honest. Get off my ass, you bitty fuck. If I pull out the claymore, you're shit out of luck.
That's how you start off the song.
That's how you start off the song. We're starting there. Like, that's not where we're ending. Where's where we're starting?
You already know the character hand in hand.
God, Blarney Stone. It's just epic. I love that song. I just want to go play it now and start some shit. It's so good. And then, and then the exact opposite of that. It's going to be all right. The three of us were texting. I mentioned that what was really resonating with me after listening to this album on repeat recently to prepare for this conversation was the slower songs. And this is one example. Jordan, you mentioned this one too. You called this one out when I was talking about those slower songs. For years, I was drawn to the more strange songs on the Mollusk. But this time, Like it's gonna be all right, and a few of the other ones that we're about to get to were ones that really stuck with me the most. There's no nodding and winking on this, no silliness. It is hard on your sleeve Ween, which is increasingly a favorite Ween gear of mine. Gene was going through this bad breakup while the band were recording this album at the Shore. Here's the funny story that Dean wanted when he was doing the oral history with Stereo Gum, which is amazing. And if anybody's interested, has to read that. It's mandatory for this album. Dean could tell that Gene's heart wasn't in it, and so he said, "We're going to drive to Atlantic City, which is about an hour from the end of the island. We're going to put down $500 in cash. We're going to walk into the sands and put it all on black on roulette. If we win, we're going to go to the nicest fucking steakhouse like Ruth's Chris or Morton's. If we lose, we're going to fucking go see Toy Story." Direct quote. They ended up winning, so they did. They went to a steakhouse and they got steak and lobster and champagne and just ordered an insane amount of everything. So that's sort of the fun story. But this song is like legit heartbreaker, man. You listen to this thing, if you're in the right mood, this thing will catch you off guard and just kind of floor you. I don't know. Maybe I'm as I get older, I have more patience. But this song, listening to it, and a couple of the others that we'll get to, it's just like they break my heart in the best way possible.
I think this song would fit on White Pepper
Yeah,
because it's polished and it is I was going to say reverent, compared to all of Ween's other work. This is serious. It's like, okay, we're going to not be goofy for a minute and just, I've got something real and I'm going to put it out there. But I've loved this song from the beginning, and I love, I love this version of Ween, the sappy, slow love songs. Love when Ween goes here, and this, after Mutilated Lips, this is probably my next favorite song on this album.
It is heartbreaking, and it kind of like I kind of see Freeman. It fits in with the whole concept of the album being lost at sea or anything away from a love or something like that. Because there's the lyric in there. It's going to be all right, baby. It's going to be all right, love. And if the mist ever lets the sun through, I just hope I did the right thing for me and you.
yeah,
It's a beautiful song, and to come in after just a crazy, song such as, the Blarney Stone, it's this is like the left hook after
Mm.
that. But no, I loved it the first time I heard it this week. Uh but no, it fits well. I do believe it can belong on White Pepper and everything. But no, it's a really good slow song. And it would be one that I would like. I haven't played it for her, but for Sarah or my parents or
Yeah,
somebody, like it's a very, you know, it's just a good song.
really heartfelt, just
Exactly.
a genuine.
Yeah.
I love the sound, the percussion sounds on this. It might be a drum machine or a synth or something, but it has sort of an echo, distant sound to it. I just love the way they put this thing together. It has this mournful feel, and again, I mean, I'll say this again, but like this is also a breakup album, and so there's a lot of emotion in the Mollusk, and this song is kind of the epitome of that. The Golden Eel. I feel like this comes from the same part of Gene's brain. I mentioned this earlier, but I can't put my finger on it. From Chocolate and Cheese, I think I probably like this one even more. It's sinister. The song, somewhat exotic. The drums on this are incredible. The vocal effects are perfect. That there's like this gnarly, warbly bass synthesizer that they use on it. When things kick into gear, I get fired up when I hear this song. Like this could almost be like a workout playlist
Yeah.
inclusion. Aaron's roommate had a fish tank with a golden eel. He used to stare at it. Of course, Mickey says that the fact that they were on hallucinogens goes without saying during this time, and you definitely get that vibe. But Golden Eel is a fierce song, right?
Oh yeah, I think the drums, the big powerful drums is what makes that really drives that. Yeah, I think the Golden Eel is super cool, and this is another one that just I kind of forgot about, and so it's been a pleasant. This has become one of my favorites on this album. It's kind of like a couple we've discussed earlier where it's like you don't know what you're really getting into, and then you just gets this amazing crescendo and an amazing guitar solo. But yeah, this song is really cool. I think it taps in to the mood and the feel of the album perfect, and just continues on this great theme that we've got going on.
Okay, and then we get to side two. If you were going to do this as a side one and side two, Cold Blows the Wind. Man, talk about this being, we talked a little bit about this. It's pulled from that songbook, but it's perfect on the Mollusk. It's such a dark song. I love the story it tells about this lover in mourning. Those old ballads evoke so much imagery, incredibly powerful stuff. Every time I listen to it, this is just one of those songs that it's funny. Josh and I talk a lot about how we were never big on paying attention to lyrics, never big lyrics people, but now we're kind of like forcing ourselves to while we do the show. But for Ween, I think Ween's almost kind of an exception for me when I think back, because their lyrics kind of beg to be heard, and they're usually fairly clear. Gene articulates well, but this one, like when I listen to this song, I'm listening to it like a story
Yeah,
as it unfolds, and it's really. I bet Jordan. I bet lyrically, like this one grabbed you as well.
it did. It does unfold quite like a story. I mean, you have pretty well like kind of a 3 act structure to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it. Go fetch me a nun from the dungeon deep, and water from a stone, and white milk from a maiden's breast, that babe here never known. It's but I'm pretty sure like this is the song they got from the
From the book, yeah.
book, yeah.
And
But
it's
no,
funny because that last verse does feel like we're in a different space than the first like few stanzas, like the
yeah,
first, and then you get to the part that you just quoted, and it's like it's a little disorienting, but it's like Josh was saying about Gene's lyrics earlier. It's like it almost feels like a Gene lyric. It wouldn't surprise me.
yeah.
I don't have a copy of that book, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's just like you looked it up and it's like, oh, that verse was something Gene just kind of put on there at the end. I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's very Gene-esque, right?
Yeah, is this the song? There's like a thy in there or something where
Yep.
it's like
Yeah.
really like written old English.
It's real fearful.
So that's an interesting. I didn't know the story about the songbook, so that would be funny to find out if that was like Gene came up with that on his own, or it was straight from the songbook. But yeah, I I didn't remember this song at all, and now I love this song. And
Mm.
I used to not like songs like this. It's like, man, come on, you know. I like I like a lot of bells and whistles and, texture and layers, and a lot of times I don't want to just hear an acoustic guitar and somebody singing and telling a story. But this is an epic story, and what first caught me before I looked up the lyrics, I would hear him sing White Lily Lips. And I'm
Mm.
like, white lily lips? Like, what the world's he talking about? Who has white lips? Then I realized, I paid more attention. I'm like, oh, it's talking about a dead person, and sitting by their
Yeah.
grave and a ghost. And then, obviously, then I read the lyrics and got the whole story. But I was like you, I was kind of discombobulated at the third verse. I had to go back and read the first verse. I was like, wait a minute, did the ghost change, or are we still talking, is the ghost the same person, or is there a new ghost, or what's going on here? But I think this song's cool, and I
Yeah.
love the tone it sets and the mood. It's haunting, and
Yeah.
but another good example of Ween capable of doing something more serious and not just goofy and bizarro.
Yeah, absolutely. Eerie song, very powerful stuff.
It's actually fully traditional. Like those are
That's
the
those are the
lyrics. Yeah.
lyrics.
So it's a traditional English folk song, often referred to as the unquiet grave.
I love that this is the first song that they recorded for the album because it does make sense. That's like you have this down, you're like, okay, there's something here. We don't really know where we're headed yet, but you can see recording this and this being like, okay, we have something to work off of, and it's something else. You know, I mean, it's dark. It's all the adjectives that you use to describe it. Also, the longest song on the album, and then it takes us to "Pink Eye" on my leg, instrumental. I mean, I don't know. This is just sort of a fun. It's sort of like it feels like an intermission, sort of like before we get into back into the album, because from here on out, after "Pink Eye on My Leg," we start to rip through some songs that are like, okay, we are clicking on all cylinders. So "Pink Eye" feels like an opportunity to almost catch your breath a little bit.
Ween kills me. Why is Pink Eye on My Leg 3 minutes and Ocean Man and Johnny on the Spot is 2 minutes? Like, come on, Ween. Like, what are you doing? Why is the joke song one of the longer songs on here? Yeah, this song's, I mean, so goofy and silly. But I mean, like you said, almost every album we talk about has some nonsense on there. You know, some people use feedback and Stephen Hawking wheelchair talk, and other people use, and other people, you know, do an instrumental with a dog barking in the background.
Right, the dog every time gets me. Every time. And then this it just sounds like a guy relieving himself throughout the song. That's what I hear when I hear Pink Eye on My Leg.
I did enjoy the song. As for the barking and then the, of course, man relieving himself, I could have done without. This is just one of those songs where I'm like, what the hell am I listening to? But I will say this, there's a band that me and Seth really enjoy, and it's called Viagra Boys. And on each album, the lead singer just has like one song where it's just like a spoken word monologue. This is the equivalent of that, except this is instrumental.
Instrumental.
Yeah.
It's true. And you know what? Vagabond Boys is a good one to bring up, because I feel like if there are Ween fans out there who are kind of like interested in some newer music, I feel like Vagabond Boys are pretty good. Like
Yeah.
musically, Ween is so stylistically like diverse, and Vagabond Boys are a little bit more locked into like a groove type of thing that they bring to the table, but spiritually and like lyrically, I think that there's some
Yeah.
kinship, I think, between those two bands. So I'm glad that
I
we
have
called
to
them out.
agree.
So then dude, okay, we're on a stretch here though. Throughout the rest of this album, "Waving My Dick in the Wind," Dean says this started off as a trucker song that picked up kind of weirdness along the way. It's the hardest he ever laughed during a song when they added drumsticks because it sounded like somebody tap dancing. This is your country Ween gear that pops up on a lot of Ween albums in this era.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. This is another fun one to play at parties. If you just want to get a laugh, it's hilarious. It's a hilarious song, and it also, it also gives you a little momentum here headed into the sort of the final stretch of the album.
Here's another song where it's like we were singing about something, and then Gene or whoever wrote the lyrics just got sidetracked and went on a different whole tangent. It's like, we were talking about our love that we can't get, and then all of a sudden Jimmy Wilson starts dancing and we can't get enough of that. So yeah, I love this song. This is almost like 12 bar blues country, or it's like a bluegrass 12 bar bluegrass standard chord progression. I love the percussion on this song, whether it's drum machine and drums or both or whatever it is, but it keeps the song upbeat and moving. And because the lyrics aren't really sung with any speed, it's all about the drumming and the instruments playing. But yeah, this song, typical Ween, the instruments are killing it, and then the subject matter is so goofy that people are sidetracked with the crazy lyrics and aren't realizing that people with instruments are just breaking it off.
I think it's a damn shame that I can't play this at my wedding. But no, I mean, just it's been 97 days since I laid my head beside you and a million miles of hallway in between. There's some red and blue lights that are going right behind me, and that pig's a pretty mean bastard.
It's great. It's great. It's like we're kind of in Smokey and the Bandit world. Like it's
Yeah,
like it's this is a fun song, and I think Dean mentions this in the oral history, but I mean it's pretty easy to spot. This could also totally have fit on 12 Golden Country
for
Greats.
country. Yeah.
You know, it's like totally would have made sense on that album. Buckingham Green, though, this song is just an epic. I, I think it's perfect on this album. It is this out for me. This kind of like embodies the album as well as any other song. The lyrics have that other world, maybe old world feel, but the way they build everything, all the instrumentation in that solo section is like masterful.
Mhm.
Dean says this ties the record together. I totally agree with him there. The synthesizer strings, those drums, Mickey's solo, everything about this song for me is perfect. It could have been a progressive rock song from the 70s, from like an obscure eclectic 70s band, or it could be like, oh, this was based on some old folk song. But it's just the fact that this is just from two 20-something-year-old guys from New Hope in the mid 90s is exactly why this album is so special and exactly why Ween is so special. I mean this song, and if you ever want to see a great, just any live performance, but the Live in Chicago, we bring that up a lot. It's just amazing to watch this be pulled off live too, because you feel like, oh, this would be a really tough one to do live, but they just crush it. It's so good. I feel like this is kind of like Apex Ween, but what do you all think?
This song is amazing. Finally, we've gotten to Buckingham Green. Seth, as a songwriter, do you ever write a song thinking, I want to write a song that I could start a concert set with?
Mm.
You ever like have that in your brain when you're like sitting down to write a song?
I never that specific thought, but you do sometimes think like, oh, this could sound great, like in front of a crowd, with you kind of picture the different parts could be playing what, like, and that has to be going through their head when they wrote this.
I remember writing a song with you called Anticipation, and I told
Right.
you that I was like, I want to write a song where we're on stage. Like the idea of the song is we're playing in front of a bunch of people having a fun time, and I want to capture that moment. I don't know if they were thinking about that when writing this song, but Buckingham Green is the perfect song to start a concert with. Obviously, they didn't want to start the album with it, and I think it's interesting that you think this a song fits this album so well, uh, because I almost think it almost stands apart. If there's one song that I think, hey, wait a minute, this one isn't like the others, maybe it's this song. But nevertheless, no matter what, to me, this is a perfect song. I mean, just the build up that they achieve, where the entire song to me almost is just building a constant build up. I love everything about this song. You've already spoken to a lot of the things, but yes, please, if you're watching this and you've never watched Ween live in Chicago, just go to YouTube and watch it right after this episode because it is amazing. Jordan, what do you think about Buckingham Green?
This has to be probably my favorite on the album. I can just picture, like, literally in my head right now, Freeman singing it and just his expressive face. And also, we were talking about how the Blarney Stone started off with what it started off with. Just a child without an eye made her mother cry. That's a perfect way to start a song.
It's just so
You
epic, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
everything he says just seems like it has so much weight.
Yeah.
and
It
this
does.
am I wrong in saying I get kind of a Monty Python feel with this song. I don't know how to
Mm,
explain it,
I
but
get like a I get like
if
a sorry to interrupt you. I get like a
no, you're good.
Lord of the Rings. Like just
Something
mm,
this
like yeah.
right.
like there's just this epic journey about to embark on. But go ahead.
I in my head I don't know if you've seen The Holy Grail, but the like detective and then at the end they kill him and everything. I just picture like the camera shooting over and them starting to sing that song. I don't know why. That's just in my head whenever I hear it.
There
I
is
l
a sort of a
I love how you
fantasy.
asked Seth if he's ever seen the Holy Grail. I'm pretty sure Seth had to watch Monty Python before he could go to school in the mornings or
Yeah,
go to bed.
you have to pay me good money not to just recite it from beginning to end.
Okay,
If it ever comes up, I absolutely love it. But I get what you mean. Like there's a fantasy. Like feels
yeah,
like you're talking about that, and you're talking about Lord of the Rings. There's this whole like old world, ancient world like thing that you're embarking
yeah,
upon with Buckingham Green, and it turns out like. I don't know if it's why they wrote it, but Buckingham Green's like a strip mall in New Hope, which is like even crazier if that was really the inspiration. But I love it, dude. It's so good. But we're cooking now, man. We get into Ocean Man. Maybe definitely Ween's most well known and lucrative song because of SpongeBob and how it closes out the SpongeBob movie. I haven't seen it, but I know for a lot of people, and Jordan, you might be in that age range where it's like you were of age watching
yeah,
SpongeBob for you, like you were the intended audience when it aired.
yeah.
But Gene had this mandolin that he would play, and they never thought much about using it. It was just never really something they could leverage in a song until he wrote the lyrics for Ocean Man, and everything came together really quickly. I do love this song. You can throw this on for your kids. It's fun, and it's just no surprise that it worked so well for SpongeBob. I don't know. Yeah, was it so? This you were kind of there in real time for this, maybe for the movie. Maybe that's like your younger mind somehow Ween got in there subversively through the SpongeBob movie.
Yeah, I remember Doug actually talking to me about this, and maybe whenever we did the Wilco episode for Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, I may have heard of Wilco before I even said I heard of Wilco.
Mhm.
Wilco has a song on the SpongeBob soundtrack movie. It's called
Huh.
Just a Kid, and
Huh.
I think his kids are actually playing the background vocals. And also, the Flaming Lips had a song on that as well,
Wow.
which is just,
Crazy.
that is
Crazy.
crazy thinking back that SpongeBob had Flaming Lips, Wilco, and Ween makes sense with Ocean Man.
Sure.
Yeah. But no, I love Ocean Man. Sarah does not. And I don't
Really?
yeah, I will listen to it in the car. She's like, "This is horrible." I'm like, and I try to get a reason out of her, but I can't seem to get one. But
Maybe it sounds like I don't know, like too much of a sing along, like I don't know, like Bible school, like happy, like pick up the guitar and everybody's too happy and sing it along. I don't know.
I have no idea. I mean, the playlist that we're picking for our reception is mainly her like middle school rap phase. Like I had no clue who T-Pain was, and apparently I got crucified for that. Like I don't know who that is. Like
Yes.
I start showing her Wu-Tang Clan and then like just
There you
MF
go.
Doom and everything, and she's like, "What is this?" I'm like, this is hip, this is rap, this is hip
Yeah.
hop."
Zip
Like,
hop, baby.
what do you mean? Why can't we have this? I think Nelly was another one she's wanting to play. I even want to throw a few Gorillas tracks in there, but we got to settle for Feel Good Inc., unfortunately, which is a great
Hey,
song,
that's
but
fine. You got to choose the battles, right?
yeah. But apparently she does not want Ocean Man on the reception playlist. She's like, no
What
one's
about
going to dance to this. I'm like, when
mm.
they're eating, they can listen to it.
Oh
I
man, God, I'd love to
okay.
be a fly on the wall for those conversations.
Yeah, I need to know, okay, how is the music being played at the playlist? And then you need to strategize how just to put things on there without her okay. Like how do I sneak things onto the
You
playlist?
so it's on Spotify, so every time I add something, it sends an alert to her phone.
Oh
Like,
god.
Jordan's added a song to this
Oh,
playlist.
oh, this is gonna
Jordan's
be
added
challenge.
polka dot tail on. To the,
Jordan, what's waving my dick in the
Okay, George, you cannot put that on the wedding playlist.
Josh, what do you think about Ocean Man?
I think you said something about the mandolin earlier. Dude, the
Mm,
mandolin adds so much to this song, just given that high register, that I think that's what kind of makes it sound like islandy and so bright and fun,
yeah,
And it gives it a lot of rhythm too. Yeah, makes it bouncy. I think this song, took off because it is just like a perfect sing along. Uh, this may be too weird. I mean, not too weird like the brown, Ween normally going to the brown, but just maybe too like happy and um, I mean, it almost seems like um, nursery rhyme or a church hymn the way that it's so structured, compared to what Ween does normally. So I don't know why. I I'm sorry. I was gonna say I don't know why folks wouldn't get into it, but I think a better way to say is it's easy to see why it did take off, and this is more of an easy listening Ween song.
I think we need to get you a mandolin. By the way, I was thinking about that. I might even. I'm not even saying this for the podcast as much as just like between you and me. I've thought about that, and I've been like, has the same tuning as a fiddle, but it's kind of a rhythm instrument that you can compose and like learn songs and like write songs on it. I was thinking, man, Josh needs like a mandolin around his house where you can just pick it up
Okay,
because it would probably be like second nature to you, with the same tuning as a violin. But
perfect.
that's what I've got mapped out for you, buddy. Now we just have to find the mandolin. That doesn't
Okay,
Josh,
cost
do you play
$3,000.
violin?
yeah.
Have you always played violin?
Well, no. I That was the first instrument I ever learned was violin. I started taking lessons when I was 4.5, and I played it until I took lessons until I was about 9 or 10, and then I started taking piano lessons, and I started playing trumpet in the band when I was
I knew
12.
about the horns.
So
I didn't know.
I kinda just stopped playing the violin. So if I picked it up right now, I was probably better when I was 8 than I am today, but, I'm asking my 5-year-old son, Micah, if he wants to take violin lessons. So, if he takes violin lessons, I'm gonna pick my violin up too and just,
Yeah.
do lessons with him and pick it back up.
So we get into the closer of the album. She wanted to leave. I think this is one that I mentioned this week when we were texting, and I was like, "Man, the slower songs on this album are getting me." But Zeppelin-esque chords almost, but still with
Hmm.
that old English Irish ballad feel. The lyrics continue that nautical sea shanty feel. Lyrically, also somewhat heartbreaking for all the multitude of things that the Mollusk is. Again, this is a breakup album, and yet he uses this story, this really sad story about this guy who has his true love taken from him. And then it turns out that maybe his true love didn't feel the same way and is more than happy where she is. And he has this sort of fiery revenge that he wants to blast everybody out of the sea. But he ends up sort of drinking alone and turning into the thing that took his love away from him. I just like, and this is not, they didn't lift this. This is just Gene writing these lyrics. I think it's really a beautiful song and a great way to close out the album. I don't think I paid that close of attention to it when back in the day when I was listening to it. I don't think this is the one that I sat with all that much. But now when I listen to it, I'm like, man, what a great, beautiful song to end this album on.
And a perfect ending to the album. A perfect song to end the album with, especially how the lyrics end. Kind of in the third verse or whatever verse. The last lyric sung just sounds like a really final ending there. But yeah, this is this is like a fun, sad, lost love song where there's this like fun, goofy twist that's humorous. I like how the style is just a little different. I mean, there's something about the sound and style that
Yep.
just doesn't match any of the other songs. And but just like Cold Blows the Wind. I mean, the we've got another epic story that's fun where when I was younger, I didn't really like to sit around for some of these songs, and as we said, didn't pay a lot of attention to the lyrics. But now, when I pay attention, it's rewarding. I like this finishing track.
What about you, Jordan?
I loved it. And going to what Josh said about the sound sounding different, I may be wrong here, but it's more of a pristine sound, especially with the guitar and everything.
Yeah.
Even with the other slow songs, I feel like this one has a much cleaner sound to it. And like story wise, it's a perfect song in the lyrics. I loved it. It's probably up there in my top, top 3 to top 5 of what's on the album. But no, I absolutely love the song.
It's a great way to end it, and it's interesting too. Sometimes it's the last song on an album. Sometimes it's like the last song composed for an album that sort of prefaces what's to come. And with Ween, after this, well, Elektra drops the ball. They don't get it. They leave it sitting idling on their desk forever. And the band's so excited about this thing that they consider their masterpiece. And they never really get behind it. They never really give it the love. The relationship after the A&R guy that signed them is fired from Elektra. They don't really have a champion at Elektra. So no surprise, the album doesn't exactly sell like gangbusters. Critically, surprisingly, people don't really get it. They do now, and even back then you could find some reviews of people who got it, but I don't think it took long for people to catch up to it. But at the time, you have to imagine what that's like to put this album out and to not really get love from the label, to not really feel the album's masterpiece status reflected in sales or in critical acclaim. And that whole, the more polished sound that you get on the final track is kind of where we're going to head with White Pepper. And White Pepper is going to be, Josh kind of mentioned it, but like, is it a last ditch effort to salvage a relationship with Elektra? Is it just what the band wanted to do at the time? Like, who knows? But I do think that the way this album plays out does inform their approach with White Pepper, which is like, we're going to swing for the fences. We're going to try to nail what our heroes nailed, the greats of our youth. And we listened to rock and roll and we grew up. We're going to do our version of that. And I love where they go with it, but it's not like everybody didn't appreciate this album. Elektra did do one good thing, which was they financed the cover art. So they go to Storm Thurgeson, and again, Jordan and I have talked about how to pronounce that last name and whether we're getting it right or not. But Jordan, do you like the album art to this and what Storm did with it?
I do. I love this. Is like out of all of Ween's stuff, and I know we have the chocolate and cheese, the cheese album, but I love the Mollusk artwork. If nobody knows, this is the same guy that did the Dark Side of the Moon for Pink Floyd, their artwork for it. And I think if I remember the article, he sent, I think Ween or somebody got into contact with him, and he absolutely like, he loved the album, and he
Loved
just
it.
immediately before even being asked, just started doing artwork for it. And there's if it's on Stereo Gum, there's a few, like, concept art pieces that he was doing that looked really neat that I thought were pretty cool. Um, Going back to what we were saying about Elektra and everything, they were kinda putting a Yankee Hotel Foxtrot situation, except
Absolutely.
it was much more difficult for them not having the critical appeal coming out. And I think with critics, then may have been a little bit hard because I think in the article it talked about how mainly records, album companies were going to, like Third Eyed Blind or Sugar Ray or anything like that. They were putting weird acts like the Flaming Lips, Butthole Surfers, and Ween. This is in that same article with Stereo Gum. They were just kind of casting them aside because no one was really listening to that. I think you guys even talk about this in some of your discussions, how towards the late 90s, there was a lot of that stuff kind of coming out and everything was just kind of being buried under it. But I think it also comes to being patient as a listener with something like this. I mean, even with Wilco or Radiohead, I mean, today it's difficult because, short-term media, whatever you want to call it, where you're just getting instantly gratified by like 5-second vines or TikToks or YouTube shorts or anything, which I'm guilty of that too. I'm not going to lie. You don't really have the patience to kind of dig into this. And so today making a record like this would take a whole lot of balls because honestly, I don't think it'd even be put out there.
Yeah. It would definitely be self-released. It would
Yeah.
definitely be like purely independent. This doesn't go anywhere near a major label today. And even at the time, it's like you said, and I think I can't remember, Josh, when this first came about and us talking about it. Maybe it was one of the chart episodes that we did, but you know, it might have been for White Pepper, but they do in the early 90s. It's kind of an everything goes. Alternative starts to take
Mhm.
off, and they're like, "Oh, people like weird. Let's sign weird." And you mentioned, the Flaming Lips, Butthole Surfers, like these bands, Beck. These people get licensed to come aboard the big major labels and and do what they do. It's like go do your thing, and then surely enough, they start. If you do go look at what came out at the time that this comes out, this sounds nothing like anything else. And part of that is a testament to Ween and how
Yeah.
singular they are, but it's also just like, yeah, those adventurous spirits at these major labels got the boot, and there was no champion for stuff like this. So you end up with a bunch of artists who have the financial backing to make the record, but not necessarily promote it. And then, Ween gets one more shot at it with White Pepper, and then they're going to go back to the indie world. But that's a pretty familiar story. It's like you talked about, we talked about this with Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. They made a bold statement with Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, and surely enough, Wilco was shown the door, only to be picked up by a subsidiary,
Of the
um,
same
you know,
company.
same company, and
Yeah.
it's just this sort of merry-go-round. But thankfully, we have it. It's name me a time that this album comes out where it makes sense. It's like this is crazy. This is a crazy album, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's just goes to show you that when people stay true to themselves and make stuff that they want to make, and they make something that's going to please themselves and know that it's good stuff, and they don't really care if it appeals to the masses or not. That's the scenario where you get really good stuff. And thank goodness Ween was never like, hey, we want to, you know, we want everybody to get it, because they knew not everybody's going to get it, and they didn't want everybody to get it. All they want, and all the Wilcos want, and all the, any bands want, is for the record company to believe in them and promote the album, to just make sure as many people hear it as possible. And that's what these record companies didn't want to do. They didn't want to put the money up to do that because there was no guarantees. So it's a shame that didn't happen, but thank goodness that it at least got recorded and somewhat distributed so that we could find it and hear it and we have it. But yeah, it's just thank goodness it's out there and we've got it. But for me, even me, as I was 16 and I turned 16 in 1997. And, I didn't hear this album probably for 5 years later, because it just wasn't on the airwaves or on MTV or mass distributed. But thank goodness I heard it. And, I think because it is so good that you could play it for a rock fan now, somebody who's 25 who has no concept of Ween, and somebody who just likes good music, and they would probably get it.
Play somebody, Buckingham Green, who's like a rock fan, like a classic rock fan, and be
Yeah.
like, does this not do it for you? Like, are you not entertained? Is incredible. And there's so many instances of stuff like that on this album. Even the weirder stuff that, the Mutilated Lips, like Kurt Weill's favorite song, right? Like this kind of gained new life in the indie crowd, because what emerges from the rubble of, okay, all the cool inventive stuff that we were investing in starts to crumble, and we're looking at the Sugar Rays of the world, and then the post grunge stuff. It's like out of that comes this indie scene, where people thrive on this sort of thing, and this has
Mhm.
become very influential, and it fits right at home in that world, and yet it's still totally on its own island, just because of these two minds, these two guys, and the way their brains work. This album is just like it doesn't fit neatly anywhere, and so it's also not a surprise that Elektra, some A&R rep at Elektra heard it and was just like, meh, I don't know what the hit is. Like, not a shocker that you don't hear that. Like, it's not your job is to hear genius. It's to hear, a pop song that's going to do okay on alternative charts and make you a little bit of money.
What's still crazy is like the company saying Mutilated Lips seems to be like a good single. Like I don't
Even Ween is like, what?
yeah.
But think about it now. I'm thinking that should. I'm mad that it didn't take off. I'm
Yeah.
thinking you re-release it now, and I don't know. I think Weird's in, and that chorus that's just like a rap. It's like a party song, man. But you're right. The lyrics. I don't know. We might have to change the lyrics if we want it to chart.
Maybe take my hand, you pretty girl, instead of take my hand, you ugly girl. Like, it's wild, dude.
That's Isn't that the Brown factory, Isn't
Yes.
that the Brown? It's like, okay, anytime we could say beautiful or pretty, let's say ugly, or, anytime,
Mutilated.
normally a songwriter or a lyricist would say this, let's just say the opposite. That makes it a little off-putting or bizarre.
It's the thing I love about Ween, is that willingness to be like, okay, this is the thing that everybody else would do, and we're gonna do this instead. It's just the guys have balls, man. And
Yeah.
to this entire album is just evidence of that. Is just like these guys have guts, and they don't. There's no. They're not timid. They're not like, oh, should we really lead off an album with this? Like, people are gonna laugh at us. People are gonna think we're dumb. Like, those are the thoughts that would be going through most people's heads, and they seemingly are impervious to those sorts of like neurotic introspective thoughts. They don't even entertain them. They're just like, this is who we are, and that's why people love them. That's why I love them. And it's been a blast to have this conversation with you all. Any other takeaways before we wrap things up?
I was just gonna say, you know, we just talked about physical graffiti and how Jimmy Page said, I don't want to make singles. I want to record albums. Let's have themes. I mean, this is what Ween's doing 22 years later. And those are the best albums, right?
Yeah.
We're not hearing some number one chart topping hit and then go buy the album and be like, man, this album's just so amazing. So thank goodness, Ween is just like, hey, this is who we are. We're going into the studio to make this record. We're not really concerned with who it pleases.
Even then today, you have song like Let Down from OK Computer. It's a hit.
Right.
Harness Your Hopes, which was a B-side for Pavement, became
Mhm.
really popular on TikTok, which I thought was wild, to the point where I don't think this is why the documentary or anything was made. There was a movie made about him. I tried to find the vinyl for the Mollusk. Funny story today, I went to the record store today and I heard a girl ask him, like, do you have this Ween album with the fish on it? And I'm just cycling through like the jazz records. And I'm like, I swear if they have this and this girl gets it, I'm going to lose my shit. Luckily they didn't have it. So I go on eBay. I mean, you're looking at like $300 to $500 for this
Wow.
record. Like that's how popular and rare it is. Even like the bootleg versions of it and everything.
Hmm.
But, it just goes to show, like you were saying, like even without a hit or anything, I mean, this record stands the test of time.
What Ween has done is what a lot of people tried to do, is what a lot of people set out to do, is gain a following that is so loyal. They just want anything that you have done.
Yeah.
And their favorite stuff is the rare stuff. The stuff that you never play, that you recorded once, the obscure stuff that you thought wasn't any good. That's why it's not out there and you can't find it. That's what your fans want, just because it's hard to find, because they
Yeah.
want everything that you've done. So Ween's fans are as crazy and loyal as and diehard as any fan. They're right up there with Deadheads and Dave Matthews Band fans and Fish fans and Pearl Jam. I mean, Ween fans are so loyal. That is crazy that you went to the record store today and there was somebody in there trying to find some obscure Ween album. That's
In
awesome.
Elizabethtown, Kentucky is
It's
how
crazy.
also I go in there thinking, of course, not being sure that they'll have it, but like at first I started in the CDs because I knew it was rare to get. And then I'm going over and I'm looking through like Dave Brubeck outtakes for Time Out and everything like that. And I just hear her ask, like, hey, do you have this and this? And like, honestly, like, I was like, oh my God, if they have it and she gets it, like, I'm honestly just going to freak out. Because you wouldn't expect going
No.
in E-Town, Kentucky, having somebody ask for on the same day that we record this, too.
Wow.
It's like
That
a
is
scene out
crazy.
of Magnolia.
Man, that is wild. There is yeah, man, to build what they built, to have it grow over time. I feel like in some ways like the fandom is just as strong if not stronger. I feel like a lot of the people who are into Ween now, I think a lot of younger people have gotten into it, and I think that they would be totally ripe for a new revival hit of some song from Chocolate and Cheese or the Mollusk or White Pepper
Yeah.
or whatever. Like you could totally see that happening. Like somebody does some silly dance on TikTok and the next thing you know, it like this thing's a hit again. And it like breaks it's like the Hot 100. All of a sudden here comes Ween. It wouldn't surprise me at all, but it does. Like this stuff it doesn't feel dated. It never feels it. Sometimes, Josh, you've mentioned the words like goofy and cheesy and stuff, but it never feels like time stamped cheesy or goofy. It feels like, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this is
Yes.
clearly early 80s or mid 90s or whatever. It rarely feels like that to me. It
Rarely.
feels
Mhm.
like it is beyond that. Now it might sound silly and it might sound playful, but not like tied to a certain era. That's one of the things that I love about this band. And guys, this has been a blast. If you've watched
Yeah.
this and you enjoyed it, please, Jordan, you also mentioned that like this is the place that you've had the most fun is spending time in the Ween
Yeah, I've
world and
had
doing
yeah.
that.
I
Me
mean,
too,
we
and
did
I don't want to let it go. Like, so we have to talk about more Ween, so because I
yeah,
want to spend more time in Ween world and feel like I'm working towards something, right? Like, and we have
yeah,
options. We've got Quebec, we have Chocolate and Cheese, we have Live in Chicago. I'd love to just talk about Live in Chicago as an album.
yeah,
It's amazing. So there's a lot of avenues for us to go down, right?
yeah. No, I've had a blast. Like, I'm a huge Wilco fan, and I just did the Yankee Hotel Foxtrot with you guys, but, like, this, like, I've had an immense amount of fun doing it, and then just even diving deeper into their discography and everything is just it's been fun.
Ween is fun.
Oh,
Ween
yeah,
is
no, I
fun.
totally agree. Yeah.
Ween is where it's at. It's where the party is, baby. Thank you all for joining us. If you like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Out in podcast world, you could follow us. We have some cool stuff coming up too. We're talking over some albums that we're going to tackle in the near future. What do we got here, Josh? We've talked about AM by Arctic Monkeys, maybe doing that one.
We're
There was a
definitely going to do that one. We're going to do Nirvana Unplugged.
yes, Nirvana
We're going to
Unplugged is
do
going to be soon.
here's an obscure one. We're going to do Where Have All the Merrymakers Gone by Harvey Danger.
Yeah, dude, I
Okay.
can't wait to talk about that. That's going to be so much fun. And dude, that might be one for us. I don't know if the masses are clamoring for it, but if you know that album, if you're watching this and you made it this far into the Ween discussion and you're like, hell yeah, you're doing Harvey Danger, please let us know in the comments. All the comments are really helpful too. Just helps support the show, and we appreciate it. Fellas, we've got a lot more Ween to revisit and tons of other music too. So I'm sure we'll be joined again to talk about the amazing demon god Bugnish and his minions Gene and Dean Ween. Thank you all so much. Join us next time for another deep dive into the music that you love. Or some shit. I'm terrible at ending these things.
Find me, Skull of Hail Selassie.
So I can tap see.